What's going on, guys? I just want to start this video off by saying Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you have the most amazing day spending loads of time with loved ones and eat some fantastic foods. For this recipe, we're going to be making broccoli cheese bake. It's absolutely fantastic. It requires making a roux, then turning that into a bechamel, adding some cheese into it, baking this in the oven and turning it into something absolutely incredible. Please sit back, relax and enjoy. Alright guys, starting this off with this bunch of flowers, which is obviously broccoli, but these three have a combined weight of 950 grams or 2.1 pounds. To prepare these, place it so you have full control of the stalk and gently run your knife around the stalk to remove each floret, leaving us with a clean stalk just like so. With this, slice off the woody root end, placing it into compost, then slice the scrappy sides from around the stalk, doing so we're left with it being nice and clean, and no scraps can then be saved for a soup. With the remaining stalk, slice it in half lengthways, slice each half into thirds, then with all of this lined up, slice the strips in half, and these are going to be used in the bake, leaving us with a good amount of broccoli and absolutely no waste. Proceed by placing the florets into a large mixing bowl, as well as the stalk batons, which are highly nutritious, then add in 1.5 tablespoons or 30 milliliters of olive oil to nicely lube it up, season to taste with 1 teaspoon or 5 grams of sea salt flakes, and of course, cracked black pepper. 20 cracks worth. This can then be given a good mix around, getting our hands in there nice and deep like, then tip the mix into a large baking dish with the size of this being 30 centimeters by 20 centimeters. Push it down flat so the broccoli has nowhere to move, then make your way over to a preheated oven set at 200 degrees Celsius or 390 degrees Fahrenheit and roast for 18 minutes or until very lightly golden brown. In the meantime, place a large saucepan onto your stovetop over a medium-high heat, add in 100 grams or 3.5 ounces of cubed unsalted butter, giving it a mix around to help it melt and bring it to the point that it just starts bubbling. Once achieved, add in 100 grams or 3.5 ounces of plain all-purpose flour, continuing to mix the whole time for 1 minute to cook out the flour taste, and this right here is called a roux, and this is a thickening agent which can be used to obviously thicken many stocks, soups and sauces. In this case, we're making a bechamel or white sauce, so add in 880 milliliters or 880 grams of full fat milk, doing so in halved increments, mixing it through and cooking for 1 minute or until thick, which after 30 seconds or so it will start to do so. Also, this is made with what's called a blonde roux, and this has no color and is neutral in flavor. Once thick with 3 C's, pour in the remaining 440 milliliters or 440 grams of full fat milk, again mixing it through and cooking for 1 minute until thick. And the reason we add in the milk in 2 parts is due to the fact that we can always add but we can't take out. Some flours have different amounts of gluten, which can also determine the amount of milk that is required, but with this recipe you'll have no problems at all. After it's become nice and thick and extremely velvety smooth, remove this from the stovetop and immediately add in 100 grams or 3.5 ounces of freshly grated Gruyere cheese, along with 120 grams or 4.2 ounces of freshly grated mature cheddar cheese. Then using a microplane or fine grater, grate in half a teaspoon or 0.2 grams of fresh nutmeg, which will add a beautiful warmth and piney feel to our cheesy bechamel sauce. Also of course season to taste with sea salt flakes and add in a very small pinch of ground white pepper. Get back in there with the spatula and mix this all really well until the cheese is melted and is extremely smooth. And this right here is the sauce that makes this dish taste so good, and it's definitely a sauce that everyone should know how to make as it's extremely versatile. Right about now, our broccoli should be ready to come out of the oven, and as you can see it's very lightly golden brown. Place the baking dish onto a heat resistant surface so you don't burn any marks into your bench, then pour over the deliciously smooth cheesy bechamel sauce, trying our best to evenly coat everything as best as we can, and definitely don't waste any of this. Once that's done, we can then use the spatula to spread out the bechamel, covering every opening, and it is okay for the broccoli to be slightly sticking out as it will take on a nice little char. One more step is to grate over some more matured cheddar cheese to cover the top, and the amount is up to you, and this will create a perfect cheese crust on top of our already cheesy sauce. Last but not least, wipe the edges of the baking dish, which will prevent the edges from burning and make for an easier cleanup. Then make your way back over to the oven that's now set at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for 30 to 35 minutes or until beautifully golden brown on top. Once that's achieved, we then have something as beautiful as this, which can then be left to cool down and set for 10 to 15 minutes at least, which will make it easier to portion. As for portioning, this recipe will easily serve 6 to 8 people. Obviously that depends on how hungry you are, and it is as simple as scooping it out, revealing that tender broccoli with the most incredible cheesy bechamel sauce. This can then either be left in your baking dish, allowing yourself or your guests to help themselves, or place it alongside your favourite proteins, but with whichever way you do it, be sure to hit it up with a few cracks of black pepper, and to make this all worthwhile, we can then dig in.